Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I'm Dana, Sonia, Kate. We're all here for you today. First and foremost, we want to, of course, thank Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks for sponsoring our podcast again this year. We love them so very much. They have 3 locations in New Jersey, Medford, Mount Holly, and Camden. And you can go to goldbelly.com to look them up, Donkey's Place Cheesesteaks. They will send them directly to your home, and it's delicious. I highly encourage you to do it. Super fun. All right.
I'm going to New Jersey next weekend.
You are?
I'm going to Fort Lee, which is way up in, so like it looks like a little mini California that's been smushed together. Up all the way up at the top near Yonkers, New York is where I'm going. But as soon as I get there, I'm going to MapQuest and see if I can get to actual donkeys on Saturday.
Oh, take lots of pictures if you do. That would be so fun.
Oh, you got to
Hello, chat room.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Hello,
hello chat room. If you guys are watching over on Twitter or on Facebook, come over to the YouTube channel, join our chat. This is like a full-on gossip session today. Like we had a whole plan and then the day just got shot to hell. Thank you, Jerry Jones, and every single wide receiver trade that happened today. So it's going to be kind of like a little gossip. So please, come on over to the YouTube channel. All right. I'm a little distracted today and I'm very, very sorry. We want to, of course, we want to mention, obviously, Lisa is not here. Lisa is not here because Lisa is actually in Tampa, Florida, helping with the hurricane cleanup and relief and all of that. So we want everyone to send their love to Lisa for doing such a great job and being such a great person for going and helping her fellow Floridians. So thank you so much, Lisa. We miss you and can't wait for you to be back home. All right. What a damn day. Like, seriously.
Literally.
It was so funny. I was laughing so hard about the whole Jerry Jones things we're going to talk about here in a little minute. And then we had trade. Brady bought a team. All this stuff's like going on. I'm like, no, it's like a random Tuesday in October. Right? Like, where did that all come from? There was a ton of stuff that happened today. So our plan was we were going to talk about the Cowboys, the team. Now we're going to talk about the owner. We were going to talk about Spencer Rattler, which we are still going to do in the Saints because hopefully our friend Big Red can come over and listen.
What are we going to talk about?
Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler.
I don't know where that came from, but they do it every time. And we're going to talk a little bit about Tom Brady and the Raiders. But before we get into all of that, we want to go ahead and talk about these trades. So there have been 4 trades in the last 24 hours, a little over 24 hours. It started yesterday. So the Jacksonville Jaguars sent their defensive lineman, Roy Robertson Harris, to Seattle for nothing. Not really nothing, but basically nothing. A 2026 6th round pick. Clear down over in the corner over there. So the interesting thing is Roy was a captain of this team for a while. And he is a starter. He was their starting defensive lineman. The party line was that he did not fit their new defensive coordinator's scheme any longer. And I guess you could say that, like, that's the only problem Jacksonville has right now. But a lot of people really see this as the beginning of the fire sale, that this is a Jacksonville team that knows that they have to make some massive changes and have to do a few things to save some jobs, to save the team, to save their season ticket holders. I don't know what's going on. Kate, when you think of Jacksonville, do you think this is a fire sale? Do you think this for sale sign is in the yard and they're bugging out? What's happening?
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I think they extended Trevor Lawrence in the offseason, gave him big money, and it's not paying off for them. They're 1-5. It's not, and it's not even fun to watch them. They need to start over. Coach needs to get his own team. They need to start over. At least they have a quarterback. And I firmly believe in Trevor Lawrence. I believe Sunshine is their franchise quarterback, but I think he needs some more help. He needs a whoopee. He needs something. And I think they've decided, I think we all believe that the hardest thing to find is your franchise quarterback. And once you find one, Then the trick is, can you get the pieces that he needs to win games? You don't want to be 1-5. You need to win games and keep the fans engaged and keep them with you while you're doing the rebuilding. They're one of 4 teams that I believe have already set up fire sale. Some of them are involved in the trades that we're going to talk about.
Yes, they are.
They've already given up on the season 6 weeks in.
Yeah.
And that's harsh because some of them are in divisions where the leader's 4-2. I mean, it's not out of the realm that some of these teams could turn it around, and they've clearly given up.
You know, Sonia, she brings up a really good point. It seems the trade deadline isn't for a few weeks yet, and yet we're going to talk about all the rest of these trades too, but it seems like some teams are already like, screw it, we're out. It seems really early for that, doesn't it?
I mean, it does. But look, they fired Robert Saleh last week, right?
Fair enough.
And I mean, super early. And then I did notice today that they're going to buy a new stadium in Jacksonville too. And so, I mean, they're gearing up. Doug Peterson said he was like, changes need to be made, and something needs to happen to kind of spark these guys. And so, yeah, I don't know if they're gonna. It's early, but yeah, maybe he sees what, right. Maybe he sees what they've got, and they're kind of tied up with Trevor, and just trying to get things together. But maybe he sees what they got and what's coming down the road, and they're just like, you know what, screw it, let's just do what we can and salvage what we can. But know that it's probably not going to be our best effort this year.
And they're not getting a lot. I mean, 2026 6th round pick, but that's okay. It is what it is. And it was pretty obvious that, Robertson Harrison was not going to be with the team probably past this season anyway, because they're going to have to change some things up. So that'll be very interesting. But all right, another one of the trades, the next one that happened, all right in a row. Dominoes today is really what it was. Davante Adams. Do you remember when all those years ago when LeBron was leaving Cleveland, and we were like, where did LeBron go? And then it happened again when Aaron Rodgers was like, where is Aaron Rodgers going to go? I swear that's kind of the way it was with Davante, but with a lot less excitement. Like, people didn't really care. Like, it just seemed to be so blasé. Davante Adams, no shock to anyone, is going to reunite with Mr. Aaron Rodgers, who always gets his way in New York, to the Jets for a 2025 conditional 3rd round pick. It could be moved up to a 2nd, but from what I've been told, it's difficult for that to happen. The biggest thing, New York takes the entire salary. The Raiders are out from underneath Davante Adams, which they desperately need to be because they got some work to do too. So it is my firm belief he got his head coach fired, and then he lost last night. But he gets his whoopee, as you guys so cutely put it, in Davante Adams. He's desperately trying to get the band back together, not realizing that the band is 6 years older than that they were. I don't know.
Do the Rolling Stones need to tour again? Wheelchairs.
Who needs this? So my question to you, Kate, and I'm going to start with you, and I'm going to ask you this exact same question, Sonia. Has Woody Johnson completely said, Aaron Rodgers, you get whatever you want. Here's the checkbook. Figure out how to get me a winning team. It's crazy.
Yeah, because that's the only thing that explains all this. We could laugh about that Instagram reel where
I don't know if you guys have seen it. So there's an Instagram reel that there's this guy that's saying Aaron Rodgers is doing this on purpose because Woody Johnson is part of Johnson & Johnson, and they made the COVID. It's a whole thing. It was
that he didn't like, and it's all been deep tea.
It was hilarious.
I watched all of that game last night. I was covering it for us and posting the scores. It was brutal on both sides of the ball. I thought both teams could need some help. I didn't realize both teams are going to get wide receivers this week. Yeah, I think he can keep denying that he got Robert Saleh fired, but let's just see where Hackett ends up by the time this season is done. Let's see. We finally saw Breece Hall running last night, and he was doing just fine. So if Aaron's excuse now is I need my security blanket, I need my whoopee, I need someone that gets me in the huddle. All right. All right. But out of all these trades, you're right, Dana. This one was very low key. Like Devontae said he was not happy a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And everyone's been like, oh, at some point they're probably going to trade him if they keep losing. And they did. And then they traded him. But it was just really chill. There wasn't a lot of, jibber jabber and stuff about all the guessing on which team he'd end up on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that anybody had the Jets.
I don't think people cared. Sonia, the interesting thing with all of this is that I don't think any of this, firing the coach, I don't think getting Devontae Adams and screwing Garrett Wilson out of his wide receiver 1 position, which is so sad for that kid. I don't think any of it's going to make a darn bit of difference. Do you?
Maybe in a game or two, but I don't think it's going to make all the difference. I don't think they're going to go on some magical run now.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, the guys are back together. The boys are back in town, but it's not going to be, like I said, it's not going to be some magical run to the Super Bowl. They got a lot of stuff to deal with. And Aaron's like 95 years old. He can't do what he used to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be what they think. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference.
It's so true. All right, so let's get over to our comments for a couple of these. We had a couple about Jacksonville. So let's see. I'm so sorry. Oh, John, our good friend John, England might start blocking the NFL at the border because it's Jacksonville against the Patriots this weekend. Woo, London. You hit the jackpot for sure. And then we have our good friend Lisa that we were talking about at the top of the show is here. Hi, Lisa. We miss you desperately. All right. And then this one is a good point to be made by John. Adam's hamstring has also healed. Amazing.
That's crazy how that works.
I know. It's just so interesting. Then our friend Darcy says it'll be a 3rd round pick for Adams because they are not making the AFC Championship. That's the elevator on that from 3rd to 2nd. So that'll be good.
But someone made a comment about Shad Khan trying to ultimately wants to move Jacksonville to London.
Oh, he does.
Maybe that's part of this. If you can get rid of some salary and lower your cap, lower your payroll this year and save up a little bit of money, there are some other teams that we're going to talk about that are going to be making some other moves that don't involve players that I think these trades were setting them up financially to go do some things.
Could be. Peter says, also rumors that Mike Williams is going to go on the trading block. Q Aaron has a death grip on this team. I completely agree. And I think that it's going to, like I said, it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. I just don't see it. This team has too many logistical, literal problems. And Aaron Rodgers was brought in to save the world at 40 years old as a quarterback instead of investing in a younger quarterback, which I know they tried and it didn't work out, but still, that's the way it goes with quarterbacks. Sometimes you just have to keep going. So I don't know. And then Bob says, I'm surprised Rodgers is still healthy this far into the season, but he looked pretty good last night. He did look pretty good last night when he I said he'd make it 8 games. We got 2 more to go. That's all I've got to say about that. But at the same time, he did look pretty good last night, but the rest of the team doesn't. That's why I'm saying he can't be the savior there. I think that's just asking too much. So, all right. And then John says the Bills D hasn't been good. They made a few quarterbacks look good. I agree, but I do think Rodgers looked a little bit more like himself last night. I do agree with that completely.
I mean, he threw that Hail Mary that gave me PTSD. So there's that.
I love how he threw Mike Williams under the bus when he's the one that underthrew the pass. And he doubled down on it again today. I'm like, you underthrew. Oh, he's not my favorite. Can you tell?
Oh, Aaron.
Yeah. Drive me crazy. Okay. Let's move on to the next on the list of the trades for today. Amari Cooper was sent from the Cleveland Browns to the Bills for a 2025 3rd round and a 2026 7th round. And then Buffalo gets Cooper and a 2025 6th. So, Kate, being the Browns person here, did this surprise you? Are you happy? Are you sad?
It completely surprised me, but I'm happy for Amari Cooper because he is an absolutely cool dude. He was unhappy this year. He and Flacco had gel last year. We got, for the first time in Browns history, write it down, we won a trade. We got Cooper for a 5th rounder and a swap of 6ths. This year, we only had to give up 1 and we got 2. So we got the better end of for what we
from
paid
Dallas,
for him.
right?
From Dallas,
yes.
who paid him big money and then traded him. But I wanted to read something from my good friend Nick Carnes. He holds the Browns' single season receiving record at 265 receptions. He was the first Browns receiver to have consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, and he was the AFC North's leading receiver both of his years in Cleveland and set a career-high touchdown receptions. He is not the reason why my offense can't score.
Right.
No.
Deshaun Watson is the problem. And if the two of them can't get along, I got a soft spot in my heart for Buffalo, and I love Amari. I think he has landed in a very nice spot. I didn't see it coming, but the rumors around town now are that they're doing fire sale. They're starting to get rid of some of the guys and see what and lower their payroll as much as they can and start preparing for the move. They're moving. I think we're going to get an announcement in the next week or 10 days, probably closer to the trade deadline, just to steal some thunder, that we are moving the stadium out to Brook Park near the airport, and it's not going to be downtown anymore. And then that frees up that whole riverfront off Lake Erie for development, because they're going to push an airport there, a little tiny regional airport. They're going to push them out and redo that whole thing. And the Browns are moving to Brook Park. It's going to be it reminds me a little bit of what we were talking about with Kansas City and baseball and how they're doing that whole, there's going to be a dome that's retractable. There's going to be like an outdoor skating rink area. There's going to be restaurants and hotels and if you go look on Instagram, there's a couple promo videos out there. It looks like pretty sweet setup. But I think this is they've given up on the season. At 1-5, they have given up, and there's going to be more moves coming.
Random question. Are the Cavs going to go too?
So I don't know if they'll tell Deshaun.
That's hilarious, John.
The over-under is 2 weeks on when Deshaun will realize Amari Cooper's not on the field. Because he can't find him now. I don't even know if he's looking. We'll see if he's looking. I don't know.
What about the Cavs? You said you didn't know.
There's the way they have the Cavs and the way downtown Cleveland is set up, very similar to Buffalo, and really not that far from Detroit either. You've got baseball and then a plaza area and then basketball. But in the videos that showed future development from the football stadium, because of the dome, could do arena events, could host hockey, could host basketball, could do a lot of things. And so that made a lot of people nervous about the idea of the Cavs moving. But we're probably talking 8 to 10 years down the road before it would be ready for basketball. So it's not a done thing. Right. It's just we're suffering through flashbacks to 2016 when the Browns did we go 0 for that year? We went 1-16 that year. But the Cavaliers won a championship, and the Indians were in the World Series, and the Indians are the Guardians are trying to get by New York right now. I can't look at the score because I'll twitch. I'm so sad that Kansas City didn't just take them out for me.
Me too.
So I have basketball and baseball and football, and there's actually more talk about baseball and basketball right now. This Amari trade gave radio something to talk about. This is an insanely football-centric town.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's
so Kristen, our good friend Kristen, she says, I'm surprised some big names were traded in 2 days. What other stars do you think are going soon? I don't know, because I didn't I knew Adams, but I did not expect Cooper or Cam Akers, who is going to the Vikings. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But I think it's like so wide receiver centric. And I think, to be totally honest with you, I think there's a lot of mediocre football being played right now. I think there's a lot of teams that are really middle of the road, blasé teams. And so these teams are trying to find a way to fight back and get into the mix. And so where normally the trade deadline isn't super active, I will be fascinated to watch it this year and see if it's a little busier. So that'll be really good.
I think if a team still wants a wide receiver, they should be calling the Tennessee Titans and asking if DeAndre Hopkins is available, because he's going to do nothing with Will Levis down there. Yeah. And if he's still got gas in the tank and you need a receiver, Jacksonville would be a nice place for him. He'll catch sunshine all day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. All right. The last trade for today, the Texans traded Cam Akers to the Vikings for a 2020. Basically, it was a swap. of 26 and 25, I think, or 27 sixth round picks. It wasn't much, but again, even the Texans who are doing great we're looking to play in the market. The interesting thing is, I'm curious, Sonia, I'm going to ask you this. It was like once Devontae Adams went, it was like domino. Do you think it was panic buying? You know how people do that, like in fantasy football, where they're like, oh, they already took a wide receiver. I better take a wide receiver.
I better take mine too.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't think this was panic buying. I think this was more so, hey, why not? Might as well go ahead and make our moves now. It's pretty quiet, because a lot more could have happened, I think. So it was just like, let's just go ahead, get this out of the way now while the getting's still good. But I don't think it was panic just yet.
Cool.
We got a couple more weeks yet.
We do. All right. Well, we spent 20 minutes on the trades, but I will tell you this. I might spend 20 minutes on this next topic. Jerry Jones lost his ever-loving mind on the radio. So happy I could cry. Listen, there are some things I love, and it's when used car salesmen like Jerry Jones loses their mind and cool and can't stay that super hokey guy. Oh my God, it made me so happy. I have it pulled up. I have the whole thing pulled up. You guys, you have no idea. Like, it goes on and on. So what happened is that he went on 1053 The Fan, which apparently the Cowboys own or something. Anyway,
it's like their flagship. Right?
Yeah. He got on the radio, threatened the radio announcers, said that it was not their job to ask him questions like that. He lost it. But here's my favorite part. I'm just going to read this whole quote to you. It says, this is a quote, swear to God. One of the stupidest things I've ever done that anybody ever analyzed was buy the Cowboys. It was an idiot that did that. So idiot things can turn into good decisions. Smart things can turn into bad decisions. The facts are that when you make one, you don't really know if it's going to be good or not at the time. You want some conversation this morning, you're getting it. Okay. Let me tell you, it made no sense because he was so mad by that point. And the audio version is even better. He was so mad at that point. He was just verbal vomiting, and it brought me joy. Go ahead, Kate.
I saw the tweet with this stuff on it. I tried to find the GIF of the girl in the movie White Men Can't Jump when she's saying, sometimes when you win, you really lose. And sometimes when you lose, you really win. But sometimes you don't win or lose. And she's rambling on about it. And I'm like, that's what Jerry did today.
Yeah.
Jerry has lost his ever-loving mind.
He did. And you know what it is to me? The best part of this is, yes, Dallas they are in a terrible situation, right? So they're actually 3-3. They're third in their division. Because who's first? The Commanders, just like we said. Kate and I had it. I'm telling you. So they've lost to the Chargers, the Saints, the Ravens, and the Lions. 2 of those teams are good. 2 of those teams are middle to lower end of the road, right? Like, not so great. But coming up, the Niners, the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Texans. That's their next 4.
The gauntlet.
And they looked so good against Cleveland. And even in the loss to the Ravens, they held their own. I don't know what that was. Sonia, I love the Lions. But that was Dallas being bad, not the Lions being good this weekend. I'm sorry. Really, I don't know what happened. Yeah. They paid everybody and we thought, okay, we'll play for a couple weeks and then we just won't play anymore.
I don't know. That felt kind of, it was a game. It was a game. I think it was more so personal in the fact of last year and, him throwing to his O-line. That was great. But Jerry's thing also did kind of remind me of what happened in Detroit a few years ago. One of the flagship 97 won the ticket. One of the hosts in the afternoon is like a negative Nancy. He is like New York. He is a Giants fan. And he always was just like relatively negative about the Lions and just everything Detroit kind of in general. Mm-hmm. That's his shtick. Gotcha. But, and the Lions were like, we need him gone. He can't cover this team anymore. And the station was like, no, this is what he's here for. We're not letting him go. So it just kind of reminded me of that situation with Jerry. I think he's just a mess. And he was sad on his birthday. I'm sorry.
Aww,
That's really
sad.
what it was. Him was sad on his birthday.
He was sad. No celebrations for him. So John said, did Jerry do that while sitting in a lawn chair and a hose in his hand? Get on. For sure. I love it. And it was Rosie Perez, Peter says, that did that rant in White Man Can't Jump. You are absolutely right. Kristen, I'm with you, my friend. Sorry, Jerry. That's hilarious. It brings me joy. It totally brought me joy too. And I think it brought me joy because this off season, everyone asked Jerry, you're not very active in off season. You didn't do that great last year. What are you doing? Are you going to go ahead and, maybe pick up some pieces? And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, then today he doubled down in his apology. God love poor Diana. Is it Rossini? She gets it sometimes, but he apologized and said, well, I'm not going to let people who I pay talk to me like that. Oh, old white man. Anyway, so the thing of it is that got me was he doubled down. He's like, I'm not making any trades at the deadline. I'm not firing any coaches. I'm not firing any coordinators. He was like, nope, we are staying pat. This is just fine. Okay. You go right ahead. I know.
At the top of the firing notification for Mike McCarthy, it's going to say, I'm not considering that. Just so you're clear, I'm not even considering firing him. And that's going to be what the first sentence on the, by the way, you're fired.
Yeah, that is crazy. So what's interesting is like Darcy's like they've gotten dog walked in all three at home and all three home games. Their O-line has been terrible and can't run the ball. And a $60 million quarterback has not been good. Exactly. To me, what that spells to me is coaching. And we have been talking about Mike McCarthy for a couple of years now. And I think that the good old boys club where my friend is my friend, that can't continue. Right. And so hopefully for Cowboys fans at some point he will figure that out. I don't know. Like Darcy says,
or it could be because Tom Brady's calling all their games.
Yeah.
It could
or
be
not. We're going to talk about that in just a minute too. Okay. So let's talk about Spencer Rattler for just a little bit. So we want to talk about Spencer Rattler. We have a guy who comes on our show all the time, Big Red, and he's not here today. It makes me sad. I'm going to go find him on Twitter and be like, Big Red, listen to this show. He loves Spencer Rattler. He was dying for Spencer Rattler to start for the Saints. He thought he could be so much better than Derek Carr. Well, he got his wish this week. Sadly, it was not all that great. However, this is what's interesting to me about this story. So Spencer Rattler started for the Saints, 55% completion, 243 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, right? Not a great showing, but a rookie and out there and trying, right? He didn't look terrible all the time if you watch that game. Here's the thing. The Saints started out real hot. Like we were like, they're going, they're rolling. They've gotten things figured out. And it looks like, as happens between weeks 4 and 6, they've kind of come down to earth. This is a group of teams that, like I said a little bit ago, I feel like there's a large number of teams that are really playing mediocre, boring football. And the Saints are one of them. My question is to you, and I wish Lisa was here. Lisa, if you're still listening, chime in comments in chat. But Derek Carr's going to be gone for a little bit. I don't know how long. They didn't put him on IR, though, I don't think. So I think no. So he'll be all right. But was this the best thing for the Saints in order for them to see what they have in Spencer Rattler over the next couple of weeks? Kate, what do you think about that?
So
because they're just kind of an okay team right now. So
they're 3-3. But I will say Spencer Rattler, I don't know what Baker Mayfield did this weekend. Thank you for my 61.5 fantasy football points.
Murdered him.
Baker was lit. But Spencer managed to get the Saints 27 points. In their 3 losses, they scored 24, 12, and 24. Those 27 points would have won them those other 3 games.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because they gave up 26 in 2 of them. 27 would have got them the win. So I'm not necessarily down on his 27. I'm hoping he's got some coaches who will help him and walk him through. It was a 51-27 beatdown, but that's Tampa Bay's in its own little zone right now. You did some good things on the field. He was 22 out of 40. He had 243 yards. It's a 55% completion rating. He also got sacked 5 times, and I think that's something he needs to learn a little bit about, getting rid of that ball, because they're going to come for him because he's not just a rookie. He was like in his first, now second, third games as we go a little more. Yeah. But I think the team is good enough for him to go out there to not get hurt and to be able to produce. Maybe he's not going to get him to a Super Bowl, but I think it's a good situation for them to let him play.
I think so too, Sonia. I think that, and I don't remember if I had this conversation on this show. I've done a few podcasts over the last few weeks, but there was a conversation, which is going to drive Lisa crazy. It's too bad she's not here, that there seems to be a growing kind of rumbling in NFL teams that maybe these rookies need to sit for a year behind someone, right? Who would have guessed? Look how well it turned out, or how terrible it was for Patrick Mahomes, right? No, whatever. But I think that, but getting these little glimpses, that's going to let any team know what they have in these rookies. And so this might, in the long run, be really good for Spencer Rattler, even if he doesn't put up great numbers.
Right, exactly. You always want them to get some form of experience, and the weight of the world is not on his shoulders, right? Like if he were a first round draft pick, I think that's probably a great time for him to get some reps in. And, you know, they're 2-4 right now. They're not like breaking down the doors anywhere. They're not like, there's not a heavy expectation for them to win now, like there was saying Carolina maybe, or something like that. So I think that this is going to give him time to grow, make some mistakes, learn the game, learn how fast it comes and stuff like that, get some reps in. So I think it's a very good idea to have him start right now.
Yeah. So,
well, the other thing that I like is it's week 6.
Right.
A lot of times what we see is they put these rookies in like week 12, week 13.
Right.
They're out of the hunt. They want to see what they have. But now you're playing against opponents who have something to lose, who are trying to get into the playoffs. And I think it's a tougher schedule. It's also, these are college kids who only played 12 weeks. Now they got to play this a much longer season. And you're putting them in at the end where, yes, there's value in sitting and learning for all those weeks. But I think Spencer Rattler is one of those kids that he did it in college. He is better if you just put him in and let him learn. Don't leave him in the film room.
Yeah.
And so I think this early in the season, you can put him in for a few weeks with the injury as being the reason. And then when Zakar, when he's healthy and he's ready to come back, you just take him back out and it's no harm, no foul. And he got some very good experience.
Yeah. So a few comments coming from here. And John, I completely agree. Sitting a rookie quarterback all depends on the rookie. Yes, but you don't know what you got, right? And so that's sometimes, you know, hindsight's a little 2020, a la Bryce Young, right? Or Caleb Williams. We all knew Caleb Williams was going to be a project. He's getting better every week. And that's all you need to see from your rookie. So it depends on how good of a temperament your fan base has on waiting that out. For sure. Darcy says, I think Daniel spending 4 full years in college and Kingsbury getting him and simplifying the offense from it to his strengths start off has really helped. That's exactly it. And that's, you know, I think definitely the longer they stay in college, the better off they're going to be. And we have a lot of players who've stayed in college due to the COVID years and those sort of things. So that's definitely helping. That's just maturity.
And Cliff Kingsbury also had to deal with Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield in college, where he had to simplify the play calling, where they were literally Baker's Heisman year, drawing things in the dirt. It's basically just backyard football. Just go long, I'll get it to you. So he is very good at adapting his plays to the quarterback and what the quarterback needs.
Yeah, 100%. All right. I really want to get to Brady. Okay. So we all knew or had heard rumors about Tom Brady wanting to buy a percentage of the Vegas Raiders, right? The interesting thing is it had to be approved, obviously, by the league at the league meetings in which the owners meetings in which they're doing this going on right now. And they approved it today. And they also, congratulations, Atlanta is getting the Super Bowl. I think it's 2028 is when they're getting the Super Bowl. But so the thing is with Brady is that he had already taken this broadcaster job, right? That he took it, 2 years before he was done playing football. And so this is his first year there. Well, being an owner in the NFL puts a lot of, restrictions and things that you cannot do. And this is going to be fantastic. Back in our comments, I could scroll back. John, Lisa, everyone is like, Brady's going to be out the booth. He's terrible, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get your wish because Brady bought 5% stake in the Raiders, but it's a total purchase of 10%. So he owns 10% of the Raiders. And that's just fuzzy business math. But this is what now he cannot do. He cannot criticize the refs or the league as a broadcaster. He can't gamble. Obviously, they're not allowed to do that. He is banned from other team facilities. That's a problem, I think. Not the games. He can go to the games. But all their pre-production stuff, all their interviews, going and watching a practice day for, absolutely not allowed to do. He cannot watch any other team practices at all. And part of the job as a broadcaster is getting to know these teams. And what the heck do you do in the preseason? That's what you do. So the pre-production meetings, for those who don't know, you go in, you talk to these players, you see their practice, you kind of get a feel of what's going on. He's not going to be able to be allowed to do any of that. So SiriusXM was having, NFL Radio was having a very long conversation about this today. And they said the best thing that's going to happen out of this is that Tom Brady will probably be put where he should have been put before. He can go in the studio. So he can be in the studio. He can do the halftime. He can do that sort of thing as long as he doesn't criticize anyone. Isn't that your job? I don't understand how this is going to work. Sonia, how's this going to work? Is it
not? Yeah, he's just going to have to go into the studio. I think that would probably be better for him. Mm-hmm. I think. But I did read somewhere that he knew about all these restrictions before he even signed up. So, I mean, I guess he's figured out in his brain how it's going to work, but I don't know how that is going to actually look in real time.
Done.
Like, the question is, did the network know he was considering buying a team when they hired him and paid him? Because I'd be a little aggravated as an employer if you now can't work for me and you knew you might be doing something that would mean you couldn't work for me.
It's fascinating to me, but here's the deal. So John put Brady's going to be the starting quarterback in 3 weeks. He can't. He had to officially retire. He had to sign the paperwork. You cannot be an owner and an active player. And so there's just so much that comes with it. I wonder if he really thought it through before he's like, oh, I already signed the papers. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. So interesting, though, is another point that they brought up today on the radio was that how long will it take before they basically just make him president of football operations with the Raiders? So the interesting thing they brought up, he could stop working for the broadcasting network, right away. He could just forfeit that money, obviously. Mark Davis could pay him the same amount if he wanted to, and make him VP of, or vice president, whatever, football operation, president of football operations, whatever it is. I think, Kate, this is truly where he belongs. He is a competitor at heart. He is a guy who wants to win. He doesn't want to talk about other people winning. It just doesn't seem like Brady. This seems to be his niche. He seems to have that passion where he is going to go in and he could do a lot of good for the Raiders. Am I crazy?
No, I think you're right. Where I get stuck is why the Raiders?
That's a good point. Vegas?
Maybe? He was raised in the Bay Area. I was born in the Bay Area. Clearly, he's not getting into the 49ers organization. The Raiders were in Oakland, literally across the bay when he was growing up. And then they moved to LA and then back to Oakland and LA and Oakland and your mother, your sister. And then they finally ended up in Vegas. And maybe it'll just be interesting because at some point, they're going to compete with that team that he grew up watching, his hometown team. So that will be interesting. I think my respect for him has grown since he has left the field. Mm-hmm. When I've listened to him in interviews and I've listened to him in the booth, he may not be people's favorite broadcaster, but he doesn't annoy me. I don't know who commented about Greg Olsen. If I never sit through another game called by Greg Olsen for the rest of my long life, I will be happy. He picks which team he likes from the beginning of the first kickoff, and that is whose side he is on for the entire rest of the game. Of course, it was John.
Of course, it was John.
And it happened to be the Commanders when they were playing my Browns. Didn't have a nice thing to say about anything for the whole game. And so I went and found his game this weekend, and it was the exact same way. Yeah. He picks which team he likes, and that's his team I don't have time for that in the booth. If I want that, I'll go watch Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Thank God for Manning Cast. Let me say it again. If you haven't Manning Cast, you don't know what you're missing. But I respect him a lot more. It may be more as a quarterback than I did when he actually played, because he just I don't know, rubbed me the wrong way.
Annoying. Yeah.
I love me some Bridget Moynihan, and I felt salty, totally stupid salty when they broke up, and I never got over it. So I still don't.
Fair
I can't
enough.
believe Bruce Willis and Demi broke up, but I'm old.
Good Lord.
Here's the thing. John said, if he wants to win, why did he buy into the Raiders? Now, I know you're being sarcastic, John, but at the same time, it's a legit question. And you know why? It's a challenge. It's a challenge. It's a team he has ties to, just like Kate explained. They're from the Bay Area, right? He's not getting into the Niners, and they're not a challenge. They're already, somewhat of a well-run team. Oh, yeah. God, sorry, that hurt me a little to say out loud, but it's true. So, but the Raiders, they need the help. That is a challenge. I'm telling you, he's going to handpick the next quarterback and coach. I guarantee
there have
it.
to have been conversations between him and Mark Davis. And Mark Davis, so we talk about this a lot with coaches, right? When they hire a new coach, the front office says you can do this and that and the other, and you can have carte blanche and do whatever. I think Brady and Davis had conversations, and that he is open to letting Tom put his stamp on this team the way Elway did in Denver. He's going to let Tom eventually have the control to do this.
For sure. What were you going to say, Sonia?
Sorry.
He also owns the WNBA team, like a part of the WNBA team, the Aces out there too. So, yeah.
So he's just digging deep into Vegas.
Kind
of fits. Let's admit it kind of fits, right? I don't know. At least it's not like all the Boston teams, right? Because then that would just be weird. But and so that's good. I think it'll be fun. I think that it is. I think it's going to be interesting. And I wonder, Elway is a really good example. Elway just dug deep into that team and made his stamp. Now, what you think about what he's done with the team, that's a whole conversation, but he did put his stamp on it. So I think that could be good. I don't know. I would prefer Tom Brady in a front office than necessarily on the booth, because I think he can make a bigger impact there. So that's really good. So, all right. We are a few minutes late, but we got through it. I'm very proud of us because there was a lot to talk about today. We promise we will try and cover some fantasy football stuff next week. We do have some winners and losers and kind of some updates on fantasy football. I want an update on how the Donkeys Cup is going, because it looks like it's having
excellent.
All right, did I freeze or did you two freeze?
Your video froze, but we can still hear you. I don't think she can hear us anymore. We've lost Kate, but it's the end of the show. That's all right. So, all right. So we will be back again next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central. Yes, 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. Of course, you can watch us over on Twitter and Facebook, but it's way more fun if you come join the chat. All right, everyone. Don't forget, tomorrow night, right here, same channel, Boucher Football College Edition. Make sure that you come check it out, and the gals will get you all caught up on everything college football. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.